Miss Trilokya asked, Padanamaskaram Swami, why God shall create the bad qualities by which a soul is harmed? Swami replied,
O learned and devoted servants of God, often people question why God created bad qualities which drive souls to commit sins. They indirectly want to say that the Creator is a sadist to first tempt souls to commit sins and then punish them for it. This argument is totally wrong, since the so-called bad qualities have both meritorious as well as sinful sides. God created these so-called bad qualities in view of their meritorious side alone. Hence, originally, even the so-called bad qualities were good qualities. The souls turned those good qualities to the wrong side due to the freedom given to them. For a very long period since creation, souls lived in very good discipline and enjoyed God's creation. But a very long period of discipline and enjoyment also becomes boring. So, finally, to avoid their boredom, God granted them a free will to choose their actions. But God pointed out the sinful sides of all the good qualities created by Him and warned the souls about the punishment for sin. God comes in the form of incarnations in every generation, mainly to preach this very topic of living within the boundaries of worldly justice, which is called pravrutti, and avoiding sin. In spite of all this, ignorant people blame God. Let us examine the 6 so-called bad qualities or vices and see how each of them has both meritorious and sinful sides. Among them, the first 3 are responsible for the majority of sins in the world. They are said to be the 3 main gates to hell as per the Gita. First, lust or sex or kama. The meritorious side of sex is to generate issues which form the next generation. Sex with one's rightful wife to produce children is perfectly justified. Dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamospi bharatarshava. Even the intense desire for sex, which causes a person to engage in sex with one's married partner frequently, is also justified. There are several uncertainties arising from gynecological and other factors in conceiving a child. The time of the release of the ovum is uncertain. The life of sperm is short, and so on. Hence, frequent sex becomes necessary for producing children. Thus, lust, which drives a person to have frequent sex, has a good side. But when a person using his or her freedom chooses to engage in sex with unlawful partner in violation of God's laws of worldly justice, the sex becomes sinful. It is this sinful side of the sin alone which is to be given up. An ordinary human being on the path of pravritti should not blindly give up sex completely without recognizing this internal subclassification of the good and bad sides to each quality. A very few exceptional souls of the Nivritti path like Shankara, Ramakrishna, etc., left sex completely, but they did not leave it by any forced effort. It was a natural consequence of their extreme attachment to God. Such exceptional cases are out of the scope of pravritti or karmadhikara. Karmadhikara means the eligibility to do worldly work. People who follow the rules of justice given by God are said to be eligible to perform worldly work, which is the path of pravritti. But the eligibility of these exceptional cases, who are the stars of the nivritti path, far exceeds karmadhikara. Number 2. Violence or anger or krodha. The originally created good side of anger or violence is that teachers or parents can show anger towards their students or children whenever they go on the wrong path. With this quality, teachers and parents can bring their students or children back to the right path in pravritti. An incarnation of God like a Krishna killing a devilish soul is the good side of violence. Vinashaya cha dushkrutam, says Gita. Even a court putting a criminal to death is the good side of violence. However, an individual should not take the law into his own hands. Even God Rama, the embodiment of justice and peace, is described in Ramayanam as sthana krodha prahartacha, which means that he showed anger and even killed in the appropriate situation. The sinful side of anger and violence is getting angry with good people and hurting or killing them. Number 3. Greediness or lobha. Greed causes a person to not share his wealth with others. The original good side of greed is that a person does not donate his precious wealth to undeserving receivers, but donates it to only deserving receivers. The sinful side of greed is donating to undeserving receivers and not donating to deserving receivers. Unless you save money by avoiding undeserved donations, you cannot make well-deserved donations, since most people have limited financial resources. Very few people are rich. Even if you are rich, the sinful side of greediness must be avoided and its meritorious side must be practiced. In the Mahabharatam, it is clearly told that both donating to the undeserving and not donating to the deserving are sins. The fourth, fifth, and sixth vices namely Moha, Mada, and Matsarya, also have both good and bad sides. As long as these three are within limits, they are not as dangerous and they do not yield punishments in hell. But if they cross their boundaries and lead to sinful deeds, they become punishable. Number 4 is the fascination or moha. Fascination to one's family is the good side of fascination in pravritti. Fascination or moha towards God is even better in pravritti, and of course it is essential in nivrutti. But moha in unlawful relationships is sin in pravritti. Also, having fascination only for the worldly bonds of child, spouse, and wealth without having any bond with God is the bad side of fascination in both nivrutti and pravritti. Having a fascination only for the worldly bonds is not a punishable sin by itself. It is bad because it stops spiritual progress. But an extreme moha for the worldly bonds without any moha for God may lead the soul to commit punishable sins in pravritti. So, on the whole, moha for the God is the good side of moha, and moha for the worldly bonds is the bad side. The fifth is the pride or mada. The good side of mada is having self-confidence, and the bad side is to have an ego. Limited pride is self-confidence. It is like the normal body temperature. If the pride grows beyond limits, it becomes ego, which is like a fever. If confidence drops down below a certain limit, it is like an abnormally low body temperature, which is also dangerous. Low self confidence makes the person afraid of even doing normal activities. In nivrutti, a devotee can be proud of being a disciple of God Datta. But this pride should not take the negative direction of looking down upon other forms of God Datta. This is the bad side of pride, which results from the ignorance of the spiritual knowledge preached by God Datta. The sixth one is jealousy or matsarya. The good side of jealousy is to develop competition with people who are better than us. It drives us to make efforts to reach their level or even surpass them and become the best. It is said that envy brings growth in knowledge. Spardhaya vardhate vidya. The bad side of jealousy is pulling down those who are better than us by false blame in order to become equal with them, or suppressing others and pushing them below our own level in order to become better than them. In the cases of ego and jealousy, there is an additional danger. When both are directed to the wrong side, in the case of the contemporary human incarnation of God, they lead to repulsion from the incarnation. After passing into the energetic world, the soul also feels repulsion from the energetic incarnation. Owing to the repulsion from the human incarnation here on earth and the energetic incarnation in the upper world, the soul misses the chance to attain God here as well as there. So, avoiding ego and jealousy towards the incarnation is very important in nivritti. Just as the so-called bad qualities have meritorious and sinful sides, the so-called good qualities also have both sides. Worshipping God is generally a good quality. The good side of this good quality is worshipping God out of true love without aspiring for any fruit in return from Him. The bad side of this quality is worshipping God due to artificial love shown for Him. In such case, the person's real love is for the fruit that he aspires from God. Serving society is a good quality which also has both good and bad sides. A politician doing social service to impress the public for the sake of getting votes is bad. His actual intention is to win the election, secure a powerful position, and earn sinful money. The social service done by Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, etc., with the goal of genuinely helping needy souls in the name of God is the good side of social service. In ancient times, yajna was also a form of social service. During the yajna, hungry people were fed and spiritual discussions and prayers to God were conducted. This is the good side of the yajna. The bad side of yajna is to do the same yajna for achieving heavenly pleasures after death or achieving worldly pleasures in this life without developing any spiritual knowledge or devotion to God. During the time of Shankara, the Purvamimamsa philosophy had turned to this bad side of yajna, and as a result, it was condemned by Shankara.
Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that propagating divine spiritual knowledge pleases the Lord greatly. Jnana yajnena tenaham ishtasyamiti me matihi. Spiritual knowledge brings about permanent peace and harmony in the world. So join us in sharing this divine knowledge of Lord Datta and earn the highest grace of God. For more spiritual videos, visit our YouTube channel, Shri Datta Swami. For more discourses on true spiritual knowledge, visit the website www.universal-spirituality.org.